To go into the world of Cognos and talk about burst reporting. So, most of us have probably seen how Cognos can email reports to users,
Mhm.
but we can actually email specific subsets of data to the relevant users that need it. So, we're going to show an example today where we can email purchase orders that have been approved to the specific originators that created the POs. So we've set up an example where Brian originated some POs and I've originated some POs. So I'm getting my POs, you're getting yours, and we don't have to set up any special filtering. We just set up this burst reporting. So
Okay.
we're here on the report page of the report that we've been talking about. And in the upper right-hand corner, we have our burst options. I'm going to click on that. And then basically, the main thing with setting up a burst report is that you have to group the report by a particular item. So like we've talked about, we're grouping our report by originator. So on the left side here, we've got our query that essentially is our report query with all of our data on the PO. And then we are grouping it by originator. And then over here on the right side, we have to determine who is going to be the recipient of the burst email. And that is going to be tied to an employee's email, aka the originator's email.
Mhm.
And then we indicate that this is an email address type. And then we tie the PO query and the burst query together with this master detail relationship. So a
Okay.
field from the PO query called originator is going to be tied to a field called burst key on the burst query. And the burst key is just an alias for originator. These are the same field. And
Mhm.
then the burst query also has an email address from that employee defined. So that's how it knows which proper email to send to. And then I'm going to click OK to get back out of this menu, hit it again. So instead of setting up any kind of parameter or filtering on the Cognos report, we just have a query that pulls all POs that have been approved to date. So when I
Okay.
run this report, I don't have to select department or originator. All POs are going to appear. So we
Mhm.
can see we've got 6 or 7 here. Some of them approved by me, one by Brian, and then a couple other users. Then I'm gonna X out of Excel here, and then I will show how we set up the actual PO report schedule in Cognos. So
Okay.
we're gonna go back to our report. So you go to properties, and this is pretty much the exact same thing that you would do for a quote unquote standard schedule, but we have one main difference. So we're going to go to schedule and then edit.
Mhm.
So under options,
Okay.
we need to enable bursting. If you
Okay.
don't enable bursting, it'll just require you to select a recipient or recipients just like normal. And you don't have to change any settings. You just hit bursting and then you leave all these settings as their default. And
Okay.
then when you go to the actual delivery, you'll notice the send report by email says recipients in the burst list. So you
Okay.
don't even need to edit the details as far as selecting who's going to get it. The queries and the burst setup that we've done so far will do that. So I'm just gonna X out of this. So pretty much the only change is go into the schedule, enable bursting, and then I'm gonna go to my email. We set up an example to have fired a few minutes ago. So this is my PO approval originator email. And if I preview this, we're going to see a subset of the data we just looked at. There are going to be 3 POs tied to me as the originator, same exact records as earlier, but we are only looking at the ones tied to my specific user. And
Okay. Yeah.
that's the
And
end of the story.
okay. And then let me see, Chris, if I got an email and then it should have the POs that were approved that I originated today, correct?
Yes.
And I did receive an email. Get some of this stuff off my screen. Let's take a look at this report that I received. And voila, there is the one purchase order today that was originated by me that was approved.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a great tool. We're all probably familiar with inboxes, and inboxes are a great way to keep tabs of, daily or weekly transactions that might be coming your way. But as far as specifically emailing the relevant data to a particular user, bursting is a powerful tool.